Welcome back, Star Seekers, to the Fourth Kind podcast. Today is a special one. I'm your host, Ginger. If you're following my channel, then you already are aware that I'm an experiencer who has had multiple experiences with 4 types of alien beings and men in black. If you'd like to know more, you can watch my earlier videos from the link in the description or click the video link on screen. Now, I want to introduce my wife and co-host, Sophie.
Hello everyone, I am Sophie. Thank you for having me today. I'm very excited to talk about some of the experiences that I had or that we had together, and just basically some strange things that have been happening ever since I started meeting you.
Yes, and you also have some scientific background that you would like to share.
Yes, I do. I was always very fascinated with science. I loved astronomy as a child and wanted to become a biologist when I was younger. That didn't turn out to be true in the end, but I did study archaeological conservation, which I am also working in now, and that means I do have quite a good amount of knowledge about a lot of like earthly materials, all these kinds of things. My main subject was chemistry, with a good chunk of physics as well. And yeah, so I would say I definitely do have a good understanding of a lot of chemical reactions and chemical processes, and about how materials behave and deterioration and all that works basically. So yeah, I am quite fascinated with that.
Great. So if we have like a alien craft that crash lands onto Earth and we find a little bit of piece of it, would you be able to study that?
I would definitely be able to do some tests with that, yes.
Good to know. All right, so we're going to get right into the things that basically happened when you met me. I warned you about a few things when we first met about 3 years ago, and I actually was, a little worried and concerned because I know that if you're, usually people around me have had experiences with me because they were around me. And since you met me, I'd like you to discuss or talk about some things that, that you weren't really a believer in this either. So you...
Not at all, actually. I have never really had an experience in that sense, any physical encounters with any beings or any like paranormal activities, let's say, happening in my life ever, apart from one story that I'll be discussing later. But no, I haven't really been ever in touch with any of this, and so it was definitely quite a something when you started to tell me about a couple things. And I remember that we were talking a lot on the phone the first couple months because we were living very far away from each other and weren't able to like physically be with each other, and so we just were able to talk a lot on the phone basically. And I remember that you eventually, I mean, obviously it wasn't the first thing you confronted me with, like, hey, by the way, aliens. No, I remember that you were like slowly starting to introduce me to a couple of your experiences, starting with the Men in Black, as far as I remember. And I was extremely fascinated by that because I, as said, have never heard anything about that, seen them, experienced anything like that in my life. But I was also not like, I didn't have a feeling you were making things up or lying to me. There was not really a reason behind that as well. And even though I have never experienced that myself, I still always had a feeling there might be more to this like universal experience that we're all having. I'm not really too much of a spiritual person in that sense, but I mean, what really do we know? I guess. So I was kind of just, well, that makes sense in a way. Like, of course it was very new, a little bit confusing, and I had a lot of time to like think about a lot of the stories, and I kept asking you a lot of questions too, which you were always able to answer me, at least from your point of view. So yeah, I just thought that was extremely fascinating.
For me, it was like I didn't want to scare you away, but at the same time, I'm like, well, if she's going to be getting involved in my life, I had a feeling that they would start paying attention to you. And that's just something that happens. It happened to some friends. It happened to my ex-partners, of course, and they witness things. They witness things that might have changed their point of view or their lives. And I really wanted to prepare you for that because I was like, well, I have nothing to lose at the beginning, right? So I thought, well, I'm going to tell her the truth. I'm just going to be upfront and honest. Like, yeah, you're crawling down a rabbit hole with me. So let me inform you on exactly what's going on here, that you might experience something. And what was some of the experiences that you've already had? Like you had some that be like when you were right when you met me, you had some stuff happening to you.
That's true. I had, I think, around two experiences basically before we were like living together physically. And one of the things I was actually gladly able to capture, which we'll be going into in a moment, the first thing that I can remember was just a couple months really after we started talking, at a family event meeting kind of thing that me and my family always have at usually my grandmother's house, which is a type of a farmhouse with a bigger backyard slash garden in the background. And we always try to meet up around summertime with the whole family, just like having, you know, a little meetup since we don't always see each other throughout the year. And that was around, must have been in July or August that year. It was still pretty warm outside, and we were doing like a kind of a barbecue outside. And my grandma has a little separate like garden hut outside where everybody would sit in and just eat and drink and whatever. And I remember as it got dark and later, I was getting like a little tired, and I was just outside laying on a bench. And I was talking to you, I remember. Well, I was chatting with you. I was
You
not
were
on the
talking
phone,
with
but
me.
I was like chatting with you a little.
Yes.
And I basically just had the open sky above me. And it was a cloudier day, but I did notice then out of like the side of my view basically that there was a little like blob of light appearing and disappearing very quickly. And I really wondered what that might have been, because you have to know that my grandma lives extremely far off any major cities or any like even just bigger cities really. It's kind of a place in the middle of nowhere with just a very few people living in that town. Not even a town, it's really a tiny village. And there is really nothing around, no big events. It was also not like a special holiday or anything like that. And I would really have no idea where this could have been coming from. And it was basically just a little, blob of light, like a little orb of light, basically appearing, quickly disappearing. And since Gingy told me about a couple of her experiences, I like immediately pulled out my phone just in case and started recording. I was like, I have no idea if I'm going to capture any of that because it was gone so quickly again. But I started recording, and as I was like watching or looking back and forth between the sky and my phone, I kinda didn't really see if I captured anything or if that was coming back or if I still caught it. But watching the video after, I realized I actually did capture that. Even if it's not super extremely well visible, it is visible, especially as I put a little more contrast on the video just to basically make it more visible. And I sent it to you, and I remember that you didn't even see it really the first time. You have to really look. It kind of appeared right behind the roof of my grandma's house and stopped there for just a brief moment and quickly disappeared again. And I had no idea what that was, where it could have been coming from. I didn't like see any like craft or anything, let's say, connected to that. It was mostly this light that was coming off that. And I too had a feeling that it was coming from behind the clouds and not really from below. I couldn't see any like beams of light coming from above, from below, not anything projecting against the clouds or anything like that. And it was just this one too, like there was multiple, like as if it was a light show or anything. And as said, there was nothing like that around us either. So that was the first thing that I really could not explain where that was coming from. And you didn't have any idea as well, really. I was hoping you might have had an explanation
Well,
for what this could
the
be.
only thing I really could follow with this was that I have seen this before. I've seen this type of behavior, things that I've witnessed, and I was already trying to tell you. I was like, well, I'm not even surprised. I'm not surprised by this because I told you like you would be witnessing something that you could be. They might start watching you. They're gonna start being in your area. They're gonna start basically making themselves known in that sort of way because they're aware now that you are part of my life, and that's why I was warning you, and that's why now too with this video I will put this up on the screen for anyone who is watching this visually. You'll be able to now see the video here, and we will highlight right where you can see what Sophie saw. And even I at first didn't notice it, but when she showed me, I was like, oh yeah, I've seen this before. Oh yeah. Like I know what she's talking about here, and you can see in the video, and anyone else who has had who has witnessed this sort of thing, you know what you're looking at right now. You've seen this before as well, and that is because and the speed of these things is so quick that you're gonna know this isn't a plane, this isn't a bird, this isn't how these things move or act, unless it is, of course, something more advanced and definitely not our own. So, yeah, it just happened to appear, right? Of course, during when
As
you
I was
started.
looking up in
Yeah,
the sky, basically.
and you met me, and of course now more stuff is happening, and it's becoming, yeah, something of an experience for yourself, and making you into more of a sort of believer in what I was saying. And we haven't even physically met yet. Like, so I mean, that gets even more intense, of course. So we have other experiences. You have another one that you had.
I had one more before we really met. That was at my university campus, as I was done with my day and basically just leaving back home, and I was kind of just in my thoughts, just like looking up a little, and I noticed there was a little size of the palm of a hand, I'd say, very shiny, metallic, silver-looking orb kind of just zooming across the sky. And I was so focused on it. I was trying to pull out my phone, but I had to keep my eyes on it because it was like so quick and small that I really didn't know what it was, and I sadly was not able to capture it in time before it disappeared behind the other buildings. And also this was one of the things that I just can't explain until today, because it was absolutely, definitely not a helicopter or a plane. It was way too low. It was floating kind of just a few feet above the university buildings. And it was also with high certainty not a drone, because we work with those two. And we even tested them out on this campus, basically. I know how they look like, I know how they sound too, you can hear them, and I know that they come with all kinds of different shapes and colors, but this was literally just a silent little shiny silvery orb thing that just kind of zoomed across at a pretty high speed, like slow enough that I still could follow it with my eyes for a couple moments, but definitely fast enough to like properly capture anything. And yeah, so here I sadly have no video evidence of that.
That tends to be the case most.
It tends to be the case a lot of the times. We are sadly also not able to prove everything that we're talking here with video, but I remember too telling you about that, and you kind of already having an idea that this might have been something else.
Yeah, because I've witnessed it. I've witnessed it myself, so I'm quite aware of these like metallic orb-like things, and I believe they are monitoring. They're a type of monitoring device. They're very stealthy, and you can't hear them. They're quiet, and they're not big. They're very small in size, like basketball sized maybe. And yeah, they watch. They're there to record, just like we have recording devices to do this. I am aware of this due to one of my experiences that I had, that I know that they record from a above like type of position. So a lot of these I think they just basically take video footage of us and they are constantly monitoring. And this is one of their ways to do that. They also have smaller devices that get even smaller than that and about the size of a baseball. And I've witnessed that myself. I will talk about that in some of my upcoming videos, of course. And these are these things that I witness. Kind of, they're monitoring devices, and this is real. Like this to me has been extremely a reality of mine for my whole life. I never I don't even question what Sophie has witnessed because I'm like, yeah, I know exactly what this is. I've seen it. And she now having these experiences and seeing this is just a sign to me that they are indeed now watching her and kind of knowing that she is involved in my life and she is part of the thing that of watching me and basically monitoring me. So I wanted her to be aware of those things, and she is. She had started to realize that something's going on here. And from someone who's never really had too many experiences yourself, really any experiences like this before, except for the one that you had when you were like a child, this like something unrelated in a way maybe to these beings, but maybe not. In my opinion, I will share my opinion after, but I will have Sophie tell her story of when she was younger and how this could maybe be related to these beings in some way, and almost maybe a sort of connection with how, you know, me and her met. You know, maybe it's sometimes almost faded in a way. So I don't know, that's my opinion, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, so basically that was the only experience that I never forgot about in my life, and that I had when I was around, must have been 11 years old, that I can't explain, and that really gives me chills until today, just because I still know how that felt that night, basically. So I was at my dad's apartment, and my dad was on a like little holiday trip with his wife. He would do that sometimes just for like a day or two, not really long, but I was definitely like alone overnight. And well, to not be entirely alone, I invited a friend from school over, who would stay with me for the night, and we would just stay up and watch movies and all that stuff, whatever you do as a child. And we had a balcony, and next to that balcony was my room, so I could always like kind of see into the window of my room. I had curtains in front of that, so I didn't like fully see into the entire room, but I could. I always had like an eye on it in a way, and I loved staying outside this balcony, especially in summertime, and especially when I was alone at home, because it was just kind of a cool feeling, I guess. Back then, being awake so late and just like being outside on that balcony while it was like this nice summery weather, this warm breeze and all that. And I had the light on in my room still, so I could always see that there was like light coming from my room. And that was the scariest part of all, and I wish I was still in contact with my friend, because I'm sure she would probably still remember that too. I basically saw at some point just a silhouette of what I would say was a humanoid figure, human, whatever kind of figure, standing in my room. And it was definitely coming out of my room, and because also everyone else was asleep in this building, there was no other lights on no other like level floor, and the light from my room was the only light that was on. And I mean, obviously too, it was right next to the balcony. I knew I was looking into my room, and as said, I had the curtains in front of that, but there is just absolutely no way that anyone was in my room. And there was also nobody in my room after. There was nobody hiding in my room. Nobody broke into the apartment. My dad was not there with his wife, and there was no one else in the apartment. And it was also not like it turned out to be someone sneaking into the apartment hiding there. No, there was nothing at all. And I remember I was so scared because I thought that somebody was in my room.
Yeah.
And I went back into my room after so carefully with my heart pounding because I had no idea what I saw, what kind of silhouette that was. And it was also moving away again. It was also not a silhouette of something like my wardrobe or something that just kind of looked humanoid maybe in a way. No, it was kind of appearing and disappearing too. And when I came back on the balcony, it was gone too. And that still gives me absolute chills. I have no explanation. I didn't see any being or any other human or anything in my room or anywhere else in the apartment. And we kind of just, I think we actually slept out on the balcony because we were really kind of afraid what the hell is going on in my room. And I was actually really glad to have my dad back the next day just to kind of not feel alone in this again. But I don't think I ever told him about it because I just figured he would think I'm like making this up or being crazy or whatever. And I have no idea. I have no explanation. This is basically just the only time I experienced something that I, until this day, cannot explain with all the information and evidence basically that I have. I do not know.
And I think too, like, I have my opinion on this. And like, I remember asking Sophie about this when I first, I asked her, have you had any experiences, something you just couldn't explain? And she told me this story. And just the idea of this being able to go in and out, kind of how you explain it, almost interdimensionally in some sense, appearing and reappearing almost. And, like, one could assume this is a type of spirit or anything, but your house wasn't showing any signs of paranormal activity before
Not at
then.
all. There was also nothing else ever happening in that apartment.
Right. So, with my understanding of this, is that I've noticed over my experiences that these beings are capable of doing things like that, and also being in contact with children in some way, or a monitoring sort of system that they do. And this, to me, could be that Sophie is somehow very special in that sense, where I think she could be someone they were always monitoring. Maybe they always already knew that her and I would possibly connect, or that she also too holds some form of interest to them, that maybe this was something that was meant to be, and we both are involved in this, and you just didn't know it until maybe now. And I think that is something that fascinates me, this story, because I've had experiences like this, especially as a child, seeing these types of beings and how they react. I've seen them more vividly, of course, and not just during sleep or during broad daylight, during times of awake where I am awake and quite aware of what's going on. So to be aware and see things like this is always, it's something that never leaves your mind. You just don't say, well, it could have been a dream or something, because you're experiencing it while you're awake, and you have no signs of schizophrenia or anything like that. You are not diagnosed with any of these things, and neither am I. Of course, I've had psychologists and therapists and all that, and I have not been diagnosed with anything to explain of any of my experiences that I've had. And also I've had witnesses, plus my own family, who have also gone through these same things with me, and it can be really a bit traumatizing at times, and I will get into that later. But we have some more things that we would like to talk about, with things that when we finally did meet, other experiences. So let's get into those.
Yeah, basically we started living together somewhat soon after, let's say. And as soon as we did that, we've had some strange little experiences happening to us together as well, where some we were actually able to capture too, and some we were sadly not, but we'll get into those. And I don't know, maybe one of you has had a similar experience to these either. The first thing I remember was we were living in a bigger city, and we had yeah, even though it was a bigger city, it was like a very quiet area, a little more towards the outskirt kind of thing. So it wasn't like the middle of the city party events or anything too much around. The only thing that we had around was the animal park, which was the place I was working too on the side, and during that time. And we were coming home one night or evening. It wasn't too late yet, but still pretty like far in the evening, let's say. I don't know where exactly we came from, but we were walking back from the station basically, and I was looking up because I was noticing once again a light in the sky. And it was moving very strangely, and I immediately told you to look up and if you saw this as well. And it reminded me immediately of the situation I saw at my grandma's. And we kept looking at this. It like kind of went around us a little, and then we had multiple of these lights coming in. And this we were actually able to record. And also here we do not really have an explanation to that, apart from the fact that the only thing, as said, that was nearby was the animal park, which I was working at the time. And I was also not really aware of any light shows or anything like that going on at that time. I was usually very aware of all these events because working there we always had to kind of know what was going on. But yeah, maybe you want to explain how you saw that whole
Yes.
thing.
So, as you can see on the screen here, once again, there is a lot of footage here that we took. I just started recording instantly. I ended up getting from a friend a really cool phone, and I have the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra, and that allows me to literally just take these videos at night, during the day, whenever, and it's probably the best phone I've ever owned, and I wanted to put that to good use. So when I came here to live with Sophie, I noticed that this activity was ramping up. It was almost like they wanted us to know that we're here, we're watching you both, and this is just becoming a thing, that it was almost daily at this point. Anytime we left the house together, odd things kept happening, and I kept filming whatever I saw, and this here is there's a rotation of these like green lights. You can see them almost in a saucer-like type rotation, and then there's these lights that are just flying across the sky, all the way across the sky, and it almost looks very like it could have been a light show of some kind, but like Sophie mentioned, the Tier Park, which is a zoo, was not basically doing any of these light shows at that time that she was aware of. Then there was this other moment where we were coming back, and I noticed these lights were also being active again and showing themselves to us, and I began to record. But when I zoomed in, like really high up into the sky, behind the clouds, there was patches of stars and whatever, and I noticed some of the stars were moving and looking like they were hiding behind the clouds and moving around up there, like almost like they were beaming these lights on from behind the clouds and creating this sort of show to us. And I was kind of like, is this the lights coming from these tiny little lights that we're seeing moving around up there, or is it coming from this? So you can see here in the video I'm going to show me zooming in, and I'll just play these videos for you so that you guys can watch, listen, and hear what we have to say and what basically happened. So now that you've experienced that and you've watched these things, and you can see now, many other things continued on. Actually, we had other experiences as well.
Yeah, I remember too that it must have been just shortly after that, where once again we came back from something with the subway and we walked back from the station, and we, as said, are in this kind of more calm outskirt area where there was only like these like little like one family houses, not really big apartment buildings or
A
anything like that.
suburb.
A suburb, yeah, this is how we call that. And then we have this little like separated section of houses that were connected together, where we would always walk by, and we noticed, and that was super strange, that the street lamps only in this certain area were going off and on in a super even rhythm, like on, on, off. And it was not like they were flickering, like there was an electricity issue, and it was also not just one lamp, it was literally at least 15 lamps or something just in this specific little area going on and off very, very evenly, like
And
very, how do you say that, like just all
in
of
a
them at once.
like a perfect rhythm
In a
almost.
perfect rhythm thing.
And this was the thing, and I'm sitting here, I'm not sitting, but I'm walking beside Sophie, and I'm saying, yeah, this happens. Like this happens.
I
The
was,
lights might flicker, or they might go on
yeah.
and off. React to. Sometimes it just it means that they are around you. It means that they could be nearby, or it's an electrical issue. But I usually relate this sort of activity to them being around, and it's almost like a signal of them letting us know that they were there. Now, this happened around the time that there was a big drone activity in the New Jersey drones were happening. Now, we are over the ocean. We're in Europe. We're not in America, and at the time, we're not in America, and we are experiencing this thing happening here. Now, as we went home, Sophie goes on to her TikTok, and there she's seeing people reporting about lights flashing on and off, on and off. And I will play a video here to show you guys people having their own reactions here. So I can actually post a link in the description down below, just for
It
copyright
was too
issues.
usually on spaces that were like where no one was really around. It was like parking lots or something in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And that was something for us too. It was like pretty late, and
Yeah.
there was no one really around, and nobody was with us. Nobody was seeing that too. And this was one of the things I completely, until this day, regret that we did not record this.
Well, I mean, at the time we thought it was just some lights.
Yeah,
going
that's
on and-
true. In the first moment, I was like, lights flickering, but then like standing there for a while and looking at the pattern and at how this was just the specific area, because on the other side of the street were other street lamps that were just normally on,
And of
it's
course, this
like,
can seem quite natural and
It
normal.
can, but-
The problem with this was that literally the day after, this became a phenomenon that was starting to happen across the world, and mostly in places of America. And here I am in Europe with Sophie, and we're experiencing this. And we experienced it the day before the people even started to report this. So that's when we said this must be related to this drone activity, the suspicious lights that people are seeing across the sky. And this was something that was a phenomenon. It was connected to that. And I believe those lights blinking in that specific way. They were blinking and not flickering.
Not
or-
exactly. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't flickering like an electricity issue or
Right,
interference.
so-
It was really going as if someone was turning on and off a light switch. Really.
In a rhythm, in a certain rhythm, almost like I kind of wish I recorded it, because it could have been a sort of Morse code sort of thing, almost
We
like
even
a
thought about that.
communication.
We
yeah.
even discussed that if it might have been, but we.
Yeah,
sadly-
that's right. And that was very fascinating to me, because I thought, I'm a very scientific person too. I tend to always find that it's not always related to aliens or the experiences that I've had. I try to always see first, it could have been this, or it could have been that, could have been the wind sort of thing, could have been the electricity. So I always tend to go towards that first, and we always should try to X out anything that, could describe this as being normally something scientific, easily to explain through science or any other type of thing. But since this was a phenomenon that happened to people right after, that was where I took this in as more evidence to back up the fact that strange things are happening with me and you around each other, and also the stuff we were seeing in the sky was happening a lot during this time.
It's
And
true. It was not the
yeah,
only time, in fact.
that's
Actually,
right.
we saw this a couple days after.
And this
again.
was during the drone activity, and it seemed to be a phenomenon with certain people and certain people that had experiences before. I noticed when I was watching some videos of people reporting these lights flickering to them, it would be in a quiet, secluded area where only they would be witnessing this. And it was very fascinating to me because I am an experiencer. And when I looked up these people, they were also, some of them were experiencers themselves who have had connections with these beings. So I found this very obvious that it could be related to the connection me and Sophie have, and to the fact that now they're showing themselves. For some reason, they are coming forward. And this was during the time of that.
One more thing that was connected to these flickering lights that we had, which I believe you have a recording of, is when a couple days later, we used to walk this path a lot from the station home, obviously, because we would go somewhere and come back. And we were still discussing this a couple days after because it was just so strange, and we were so mad that we just didn't record this or didn't think of it as much when we saw it in that moment. That we were walking along this path and we were literally saying, if this was something related to these beings or anything like that, please do give us another hint of that.
Yes.
Give us another like light or anything,
a light
like
show.
a light show like that. And as we passed by one of the streets, we looked into that and we saw an abandoned car standing on the side of the street with the lights flickering in the same rhythm. And I was like, there is no way on earth. There was an abandoned car. There's no one. This was a pretty quiet area too, as said. Like there was not much traffic around anyways, especially not later in the evening. And there was this like empty car in like on the street, but like on the side of the street,
Not
parking, not turned on, not like, I don't think it had any other lights on too, and it just had the blinker lights on, basically flickering in the same rhythm. And I didn't even know what to say. I was speechless in that moment because I was like, there is no way
And
I would ask for this, like to have a little like.
It happened
roof,
right when we asked.
It happened right when we asked. And that was such an obvious thing too, like right in our faces. It was not like parked on the side in the parking lot somewhere or something. It was on the street, just blinking silently.
And that wasn't even the end of it. When we finally walked, after I filmed it, which I will show also on the screen here, that when we walked to the actual place of residence, we noticed across the street there was someone's lamp just flickering and doing all this weird stuff. So I mean, yeah, there's scientific explanations for these things, obviously, but it is suspicious, and it was something we took note of. We took note of this, and so yeah, it's just these sorts of little things that were happening around that time, and very, very, very much something that we were taking note of. That's what.
Definitely. And then it moved on to us basically moving out of that city into another city, a little further away. And ever since we've been in this place, things appearing in the sky just have not stopped for some reason.
Not.
We've seen quite a few things, and one of the things that we were also gladly able to record not too long ago, it just must have been just a very few months back from now, that you were, I don't know, in the kitchen or something, and I was looking out because we have our own balcony now, and I sometimes just stand there and like kind of look over the houses and stuff, and I noticed that a green light was kind of flashing across. I don't even want to say the sky, because it was not really far up. It was a lot lower. It was also just a couple feet above the houses, basically. It was floating over a few trees towards a kind of a tower that we have nearby. And I immediately told Ginger to come over and check this out because I didn't know what it was, and it was just looking so weird. Like, it was nothing, like, was no green flash from a plane or something. We see those all the time here. They are far, far up. They're very slow, and they blink usually with the red light from both the airplane wings. And this was far lower, as said. It was like almost the height of our balcony, maybe a bit above that, but definitely low and pretty fast. And it was doing little maneuvers, and I was very confused by that. And she immediately got her phone out and started recording, and God thanks that thing was still there, and she was able to capture quite a bit of it. Not the beginning though, but quite a bit of it. And to me, this also did not really look like a drone, because we saw another drone the other night that was very
clearly a drone.
Likely a drone.
And I mean, like, someone's home drone. Like
someone's home drone, exactly.
This wasn't,
it was like the distance that it flew over was way too fast to be a little private or even a commercial drone at this point. Like,
no, to me this was not. And we live in an area where there just isn't stuff like that. This basically was something I have witnessed in how they move their craft. You can see up here on the video. I took this whole thing, and so I'll let that play out for you guys, and then I will have this repeat over while we continue to talk about it. But I really want to get into this. So here. And this is what I want to actually mention about this video, is that you can see it is clearly moving at a speed that just isn't normal. It's going across the entire horizon area that we were looking at, and it was
basically going over the entire city center within a second or two,
too fast.
Which is definitely too fast for a little
even commercial drone.
Even a commercial drone.
Yeah, too fast.
And it was only green too. I noticed it wasn't like blinking, like drones have the green and red light as well, and then even a white light sometimes, especially when they're going up or down. And this just didn't have that at all. It was literally just one plain green orb.
And also you can notice here in the video that you can notice how it's moving. It is almost kind of going in and out of existence, like it's sort of traveling at a sort of a interdimensional way. It seems to appear and then reappear, and then and when it reappears, it is, way ahead of itself. It's very strange technology, and I've experienced it. I've seen this type of thing before, and this was like obviously before drones were even a thing that we were aware of, and I've seen how they fly, and this is it. It just kind of reminds me heavily of the stuff that I've seen in my past for decades, and here they are, just once again flying around and making themselves quite known, especially to Sophie. And I am fascinated by that, because now I'm ready to record, so they're going to have to deal with that. So the next times they keep showing up, I'm just going to keep recording. Back in the day, we didn't have phones that could record, or just technology like that. I was a child, or I didn't have things to just record things like that. And I wish I did, because the things I would have captured, it would have proved everything, really. But I sadly don't have a lot of that from my childhood. I only have witnesses, and I have my family members that have experienced these things, but I do not have any physical evidence. So it's nice that I can now take physical evidence and be prepared, and have some higher quality stuff too. Nothing just, little pixels in the sky. Like, I actually have this footage here that is, I think, much clearer. I mean, I wish I could get even closer in, or that it was in daylight. I'm always ready, so I'm always recording and ready, but and especially to prove that this is happening. This is stuff that's happened in my life, and has happened with Sophie now, and she wasn't involved in any of this before. She never witnessed any of these things before, and it just makes it even more of a validation, even for myself, knowing, oh God, I'm not crazy. Every time someone else sees this with me, experiences these things with me, it validates my own thoughts on this and helps me to uncover the truth. And it's a puzzle piece that we just keep putting together. So,
And one more thing that I wanted to point out, even though you are a lot more like already, like whenever I see something, you're like already there with your phone and stuff.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's actually nothing. We notice a lot that some of these things are basically just
we
planes
analyze
or
it. Yeah.
things that are definitely explainable. But even when you are prepared for these things, you did capture one thing on accident that we only
yes,
noticed after,
right.
kind of when we were out, like kind of sightseeing in a way, and you were just taking a picture of like the castle that we were visiting, and we looked back at the picture after, and you were like pointing out that there was this like weird little metallic looking object in the sky, and I was
It's a
like,
flying saucer
what
kind
is
of
that?
object. Yeah.
What was that? And yeah,
I'll put that up on the screen, and there you can see it. I know it's only a photograph, and photographs aren't the most reliable, but this is it. This was one of my, just a basic day. I was just taking pictures of the sites, and I never visited this place before, so I thought this was really a fun, and it was also a very romantic day. It was a very romantic day for us. So, and it was lovely, and I just wasn't thinking about aliens or any of that stuff, so.
it's not something that you purposely tried to capture.
No, it was an accident. And when I went back and looked at the photos, I saw this object just there, and I think I captured multiple images. Actually, I'll put them up on here, but if not, then this is just the one image that is clear enough. But my favorite image right here is this one, and you can see that this is a metallic-like object, and it has a saucer-like shape to it. And
it does not look like a plane.
No.
It's too low too.
Yeah.
It's kind of low.
It's low, it's kind of shiny, very metallic looking, and it just glows in a way that it just looks very similar to the things I've seen. And it's like sitting up there just watching us. It was a nice, beautiful, clear day that day, so it was a perfect time for capturing it. If I had known, I would have zoomed in, because I had the good phone to take those pictures, but I didn't know this, and I was focusing more on the buildings, the scenery, everything. But yeah, this is the sort of thing that, comes to me, and sometimes it's by accident, so I wanted to share that with you as well.
Then the last thing pretty much that I have here that I can remember pretty clearly is also not too long ago, when we were on a holiday in the Alps. And also that was later in the night. We were also sitting outside on that balcony that we had, and just like looking over the scenery and enjoying some of that beautiful summer breeze and all that. And I remember too, we were just kind of like sitting silently or chatting or whatever, I don't know. But I did see a very bright flash from like the side of my view, and it was just above the building. So it was not like a meteor or something in the sky that flashed. It was just above the building, and it was coming in and disappearing extremely fast, and I thought this looked almost like someone shooting a firework, that like would go off anytime, but first off it didn't. Nothing went off, and also there was no sound to it, so it was not like someone was actually shooting something around. It was literally just a super bright orb-like flash that came up over the roof of the building that we were in, and it was gone. And I remember you saw it slightly, very slightly,
Yes.
From the corner of your eyes pretty much, but you weren't really able to see too much of it either.
And I was thinking too, like I wanted you to see something, because
Yeah.
I thought we were in this beautiful place. It was gorgeous. It was quiet. It was you could see the night sky just perfectly, and the moon was very bright that evening.
I think
it was very
too.
bright. I have
That's true.
photographs of that.
I did have ChatGPT make me an image of this. I hope I can find that actually. So
Yeah.
because it made it actually kind of accurate, even though I was not able to capture it myself, because it was appearing
Too
to speed
fast.
way too quickly. I didn't even have a chance
Unexpected
to
and too fast.
to grab my phone in that time. So this is not a legitimate photo, obviously. How do you say that? Like, please keep in mind.
Yeah.
It's not a real thing here, but it gives a good idea on what that looked like.
Yes, and I'll put that up over here as well if you guys notice the screen. So it's basically, it's sometimes these things are just so quick, and a lot of us experiencers, we can't capture it in time. Or there's
Absolutely.
times too when these things happen, especially when beings come to you. They're not going to come to you when you're holding a camera. It's just not. They're coming to you when you're least expecting it. They're coming to you when you're not prepared, because that is how they can stop you from basically getting them on camera. It's just, they're smarter than that. They're not going to show up and let you just capture them. So I even sometimes feel a little bad when I do have to capture them on camera through their craft. But other than that, I think that's the only thing we're ever going to get is their craft. Getting one of these beings through taking a photograph of them is nearly impossible, because they control everything about you, everything from your body to how you're going to react and what they can stop you from doing that. They can mess with your stuff. They're not going to let you do it. It's not going to be that easy. And from me, I can't see how it ever would be, because when I had my physical experiences with these beings up front, I wasn't ready with a camera, never. And also, I had sort of a thing where they just kind of controlled mostly how I would be able to interact with them. There isn't a lot of control. So when you do see the craft, it's them letting you know that they're there. And yeah, you might be able to capture this on video. This is where you can maybe get something. But a lot of the times the craft moves too quickly, or by the time you even notice it, it's because they started to move and they're moving fast. And but I just think personally, in my opinion, they're from what I know, they're watching. They're letting us know that they are there, and they're watching now Sophie, my wife, and paying attention to something about what we're up to. And so I thought this has to be shared. People need to know this is happening. There might be others out there dealing with the same thing, and to not fear it. They're not harming us. I don't want anyone to be afraid of these beings. I think, yes, it can be terrifying and it can be very scary, but I find it more terrifying when, of course, the being comes up to me, and not so much as their craft. Their craft is always fascinating. I'm never really scared. I'm always really excited to see something, because it's technology, it's advanced, and it's always fun to look at. But when it is themselves, these beings in front of me, that's a little harder to accept sometimes. I mean, I feel like now at this point, it's not so shocking as much, but it always will be still kind of, it never gets old. It always will be your mind, your human mind, unable to make sense of it. And this is not supposed to exist. And yet there it is in front of you. There it is talking to you or communicating with you in some way. And when it doesn't communicate, that's always the more scarier thing. So I've had beings that just don't communicate. They don't say things like, it's okay, relax, we're not going to hurt you. When they don't even say anything to me, I don't like that. I wish they would find a way to pass on the message that they're not going to harm me. They're just taking me to see someone or something, And I really wish they would have done that a few times, because I found myself less scared, less in shock when I would be actually speaking to them. I'm someone who can accept, something looking very different. I'm not someone that can't accept things like that. My mind is open, of course. I've seen this more than once, more than twice even, and multiple times. So you get a little more used to it, and you kind of know, oh, this is what's happening again. Also, I have never been truly harmed physically in a way that is painful or makes me feel like they did anything bad. I've had some implants done, and that didn't really hurt as much as it just felt very odd and lasted for a while. Like I had years where things just seemed different, but I can explain that later in some upcoming videos. But anyways, this has been a fascinating experience since I've met Sophie. It almost feels like some of these experiences have amplified, and they haven't really fully shown themselves yet to you in a
No, not at
form
all. I
yet.
have
So
not seen
yeah,
any beings still or anything like that.
it's almost like they're testing the waters in a way. They're seeing, how she handles even seeing them. And I mean, to be honest, I don't really think it would be good for you to see them physically yet. Just because it can be more damaging, I think, to the mind. So if you're just, I mean, even for me, it was incredibly damaging. I was strictly raised Catholic in my childhood, and my family is strict Italian Catholics, and so I believed heavily in a lot of that, and Jesus and angels and things. So I never really understood at first when I was seeing these things. I didn't like this. I didn't like it at all, and it was scary, and it kind of terrified me. A lot of it was, there was a lot of scary times when I was younger. And I will talk about those later, but that will be in some upcoming videos. However, I just was afraid that if Sophie was to ever see something like this, it can permanently damage your mind. It will make it to the point where you either have to find a way to get over it, and I found attending MUFON helped me. It helped me connecting with other people at MUFON events I would go to, and that was like my little place where I would kind of go to talk about my experiences, and it helped me get over things. And if anyone's having experiences like this and you're feeling very lost, confused, or whatever, you can and very scared, and you want to talk about it, I recommend doing this. And attending a MUFON event if you're lucky enough to have any around you. At the time, I was living in Florida, and there's just a few of these MUFON events that do take place, and they really helped. It was like a therapy session, and very, very nice to get some of that stuff off my chest and talk about it. And so, yeah, I feel like even doing this now is really nice for me. It's a bit therapeutic, and having Sophie with me, she now having her own experiences to talk about things that she's seen, can help, and yeah, so I think this, did we have anything else? Like when we, I think when we were sleeping that one time, we had some lost time almost. I had,
That
yes.
weird dream thing that
Yes, I had a sort of experience where I was sleeping,
about that.
and I woke up and I saw Sophie, what looked like
Oh
Sophie.
God, yeah.
Yeah, this one scares her. She doesn't like
Oh
this one.
God, no.
But we did have a very strange experience with this, and I think it's something to talk about because I feel like it really includes her and a lot of the things that I deal with. And so I was sleeping. I woke up in the middle of the night, and normally, sometimes Sophie, would wake me up early in the morning or whatever before bed. And but this time she woke up, and I thought it was her, and I saw her leave the room and go into the other room, maybe go to the bathroom or something. And when she came back, or what I thought was her coming back, there she's just standing over me on the bed, over at the bed, and I'm just looking at her like, hi, what do you want? And she's smiling very oddly, big smile on her face, just didn't look natural in some sense, and also her body type and everything just seemed very, like the way that your body language was showing reminded me of the beings, the gray ones, that this sort of beige gray one that I have experienced before, and how they stand with their arms off to the side, and very like they're kind of like they have their arms out a little bit, and just kind of I think
T-posing.
half T-pose. But I'll show a little image here of a little sketch that I did a long time ago. And this one is kind of how they stand. And that is how Sophie was standing outside of the bed next to me. And I'm looking up at her like, and I thought it was her. So I felt very comforted. I didn't really feel fear or anything. But her eyes were really wide, and she had this big smile on her face, and she's standing in this exact pose here on the screen with her arms spread out a bit and just in that same sort of odd pose. And she stood there for a little bit. And I thought she was just watching me fall asleep or something. I don't know. Like, I was feeling very
Totally
confident.
something I do every single night.
Yeah, so I thought this was very odd, right?
Yep.
And so when I told her about it in the morning, she was like, "What? I did not do that."
Absolutely. And I don't sleepwalk or anything like that.
No, she doesn't. And this was the only time really that I witnessed this. And before this, we were talking actually a bit about these beings, and I thought, well, I think it wasn't you. So I might have had right there, I believe, an experience, and I was awake. I was not scared. I wasn't stuck to the bed or having any kind of reaction, sleep paralysis or anything. I was fine. I even smiled at her and said, "I love you," and whatever. But it just stood there, like soulless in a way, smiling at me in a very big smile, like almost robotic in a sense. And it just stood there and it didn't do anything. I don't remember anything. But that same night, we thought we were talking to each other.
Yes.
It was very strange, but we were asleep and we were like having a full conversation. And you even remembered having a full conversation, but we were and we were talking to other people. I don't remember who they were.
You said that you specifically have like remember that as if you were like talking to like a group of people.
group of
were
people.
talking about
Yes.
something funny and stuff, like something very just funny.
Yeah, we were like saying, "Oh my God, yeah, that's so amazing.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
gonna
something
happen."
like
Like,
that.
and things I
Very
was saying,
cheerful.
very excited about something. We were very excited, and I was discussing stuff with a bunch of people plus Sophie, and it felt like when I woke up in that morning, we woke
Both
up
of
late.
us, we woke up extremely late. And
Too
we're
late.
both not people who wake
No.
up late, especially me. I
Yes.
wake up usually between 6:30 and
Yes.
7:30 latest. We woke up at like 10.
10 o'clock. Never. We
That
never
has
wake
never
up
happened,
late.
and we didn't go to bed necessarily
No,
late.
no.
It was also no like time change where like sometimes we have the in summer and winter the time
Yes.
going back and forth and shit. But no, it was none of that was the case. It was just in the middle of the year, some random day, middle of the week, and I was when I looked at the time when I woke up, I was like, how is it 10?
I couldn't believe it.
That was way too late for me to wake up, especially since I went to bed at like 10 p.m. latest.
And the atmosphere felt like the way I remember is sometimes it feels like they stop time, they mess with time, or the atmosphere is
And we both too, sorry.
No, go
we
ahead.
both too woke up, I think, very much
The same
at
time.
the same time. Like
Yeah.
usually it's like I wake up and then you wake up like
Right.
half an hour later or whatever. But no, we woke up like it was like as if we both turned around in the same moment and were like,
They
good
became
morning.
aware.
Yeah, they kind of.
like they placed
It's
us
just
back,
so
you know,
strange.
and we were, and then I even
God,
said, doesn't
that
it
was
feel like we've been
so
up all night long?
strange. Yeah.
It didn't feel
It
like we
did.
slept,
It
even
did.
though we slept the longest, and it felt, I'm like, were you talking to me all night? Also, I saw you standing next to me,
That
like,
creeped me out
and
so much until this day because
and
that was not me.
that
Whatever
wasn't
me.
you. I knew it wasn't, just because in my memory I think back and I'm like, oh God, that's definitely not you.
No.
That looked really creepy in my mind. So I think it was them. I think sometimes they take the form of someone you love so that you're not scared.
I didn't see it, by the way, though. I didn't
Yes.
wake up at the time.
Yes.
I was asleep.
Sophie was indeed asleep, but you do remember the talking.
Yes, yes. I remember the rest of the
like
fucking
as if,
night.
like physically with our voices, we were almost in a way speaking to each other, and it felt like I had just come back, like we just came back home from a trip, you know, and we were talking to all these people and talking to you, and I was having this discussion with you. That was just a strange loss of time experience in a night that we both had together. And I believe, in my opinion, it was an abduction. I think they came, picked us both up, were communicating with both me and Sophie, discussing something about whatever we're supposed to be doing that I was getting excited about. And then they put us back. And when we woke up, it was 10 o'clock in the morning. And that's just too late for
That
us.
is absolutely true. And never in my life, I think, really ever have I woken up at 10 in the morning. Like that is just, I'm a very, I'm a early bird, so Absolutely not.
Very fascinating things that happened. So, just another experience that you had with me that is questionable, and we just keep adding to the list.
It keeps adding to the list. And that was just all these stories happened
Mhm.
within a time span of barely a year.
A
I
year,
have to
yeah.
mention.
That's the thing, is it was within most of the time, when it is us together, it was within this year, this whole past year was just experience after. And then there was other times we looked out on the balcony, and then there was this light that just suddenly fell straight down.
Yeah, that
Straight down.
was just
And we're
2 weeks ago
looking,
or something.
we're always now looking, because now she's always looking too. She's
I was
always
especially looking when I get
she's-
up. When I get up now from the couch, I always look out. on
That's
the
right.
balcony.
She's always looking more than me, and I'm like, yeah, they're out there probably. And she's out there looking now all the time.
Some strange little thing. I don't know if that was a meteor, but that was just something coming straight down, like a little flash falling straight in a straight line out of the sky, like from far above. It was
And then you
very
were
strange
looking out
looking.
one of the windows, and this was something else I wish I caught on video, because it was excellent. It was definitely a craft of some kind. There was a bright light that Sophie was looking at in the sky, and then all of a sudden you told me to focus on it, and it went up into the
God,
universe.
yes.
Like, it did not. And I wish I filmed
That
this.
was around the time that we saw the green little dot. too.
Yeah.
It was like a couple of days before or after that.
It was after, I think. Yeah, it was. It was
It was
so
around that time,
fascinating.
definitely. though,
Because now we were paying
Because
attention.
we were paying
Yeah,
attention
I
a
was
little more to
waiting.
the sky. Yeah, exactly.
But it's always outside our window of the bedroom, or it's always outside of the balcony. It's
I just want to look out right now.
it's definitely always something that's watching us from a distance, and when me and Sophie are together, it tends to be something that is like, it's either there, and then the minute they know that we notice them, they disappear. They try to get away from us.
That's true. But yeah, I think those are a good few examples. I
Yes.
guess, in a way.
And you have noticed other things with me as well.
I
Like,
noticed other things.
when I sleep at night, I have this thing that I suffer from since I was like about 20 years old or so. I've had this sort of thing that I now see these sorts of mechanical devices, that I call them, where they look like little, almost like sea creatures, but they're part mechanical, part part biological in some sense. And sometimes I see them, and I call them these like little devices. I don't really know what they are, but I've never really been able to understand these. But when I wake up sometimes in the middle of the night, I will see one. They will notice that I notice them, and then they will disappear. This is something that, and now I am not going to associate completely with my experiences. To me, this could be some kind of sleep thing. But if we want to take note of it as something alien or related to the experiences of these alien beings that I've physically seen and been around, this could be something related to it. So it's like, you've witnessed me.
I've witnessed you very few times, actually, like kind of just jumping up from that, like being like, Sophie, there's something. And I wake up from it, obviously, too, and I usually I need a couple moments to like open my eyes, and by the time I sadly don't catch what you're looking at, or what you were looking at, because by the time it's gone, it's not like you see it while it's like it's still there and then I don't see it, like only you can see it. I don't know, it's usually gone by the time. But you wake me a few times.
I do.
Or you woke me a few times from that. And I remember too, this one time, just the evening before that, I kind of hit my head pretty hard, like not dangerously hard, but it was a good little hit. And I remember that it hurt quite a while, and I was like laying down and eventually falling asleep. And that night you were seeing something, a little thing floating above specifically me. And I remember you called it the Christmas star. I will
did.
not forget until this
Yes.
day. You called it the Christmas star.
I didn't know what else
for
to
some
think it was.
reason. And you said it was it disappeared kind of behind where my TV screen was.
Yes.
And did you wake me up from that? Actually, I can't remember.
I did, I think. Yeah, I did. I told you, and I was like, you woke up to me saying, so
Yeah, that's right. That's right. When you were talking about a Christmas star, and I was like, What Christmas story?
Yeah.
What are we looking at? What are we doing? But it kind of disappears out of your
My vision.
out of your vision.
Yeah.
And I did not catch that, but I notice a lot that you see these things,
Mechanical
this,
like
little
type of devices.
sometimes, or
And I have my opinions on it. I have like these easily could be hallucinations from sleep, like if I wake up too fast or something, which is something that some people suggest. Totally valid. We're just going to go with whatever you want to believe. But I am not going to also X out the fact that they usually show up when I'm injured, something has happened, and something needs to be kind of fixed in the body. Or I've even noticed it with Sophie. She hurt her head, and now I'm seeing it floating. They're floating above her. And what these little machines do is they just kind of are in the presence of you while you're sleeping, and they hover above you, not even a couple inches, and then all of a sudden, if you notice them, they will disappear. Kind of like they don't disappear, like they just vanish. They sometimes find hiding spots or go into a portal. And I'm not kidding. Like, I just don't understand how, if it's an illusion, it should just vanish. It should just like start to dissipate or something, but it doesn't. And instead, I've noticed them. I used to be really terrified of these things, and I would have sometimes. This happened to me multiple times throughout the night, maybe 10 times throughout the night. I had it really bad when I was in my 30s. They became so, it happened so often that I didn't want to deal with it anymore. It was just driving me insane. I started wearing a blindfold at night. I slept with a mask over my eyes so I wouldn't wake up to see anything. I didn't even want to know they were there. And that did help for a while. But when I thought I was maybe getting better, I would sometimes then take off the mask and I would see them again. And I noticed that I started to analyze them. Sometimes I even tried to catch them. One time I tried to go and take my hand and I tried to grab one, but it turned around, went into a portal-like type of warped time portal. It's very hard to describe, but it's a light portal of some kind opened up, and it turned around quickly and went inside of it and disappeared. When I went to reach, this is the strangest part, when I went to reach for this that is almost like on another dimensional plane, I tried to grab it, but he was already like, almost felt like he was light years away, but I could still see it. And my hand warped and stretched as it entered this sort of interdimensional portal. It didn't hurt my hand or do anything to it, but the minute the portal disappeared, my hand just looked normal again. And that was very odd. And this wasn't the first time. Then I started noticing they're going into portals. What are these things? And can we always see them? Am I only seeing them because I'm in between maybe sleep and awake? Is this something that other people have seen? I actually wrote a post a long time ago when I was young about these types of devices, and this was something that I shared on this forum called Unexplained. It was called like Unexplained. The Unexplained. I forget the name of it. Oh my god. Some site or what. I'll have to see if I can look it up and find if I can put the old site on here, but it may not even exist anymore. But yeah, I went on there and I used to I talked about these things that I saw, and but yeah, I've noticed that they show up when I'm injured, and they showed up when Sophie was injured. And that is something very interesting to think about, because I've noticed that they really are only there to do something, to maybe fix a problem. And yeah. So we so I believe that we are done, and that we have nothing else to really share for the evening.
Examples. There is so much more to discuss. Like I have so
There
many
really is. We have
things in mind that do not exactly fit this specific topic here, but there is definitely a lot more we will be discussing in the future, and maybe even if you have any suggestions or any certain things, certain topics you feel like we should mention, then let us know, I guess, and we'll be right here to discuss further. further topics in the future.
So definitely keep in touch with us and continue following the podcast. It was a wonderful conversation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. And we have a lot more to share. So definitely our opinions, Sophie's scientific background,
Yes.
to discuss some of these things and to see how maybe we can find some explanations for some things, but also maybe connect more of the puzzle pieces together and find out more about what's really going on in this existence, this matrix, this
Experience that we're
the
living in.
experience that we're in. Anyway, thank you for joining us this evening, and I really hope that you would leave some comments down below and let us know what you think. Share your experiences with us if you feel comfortable doing that, and let us know in the comments. Also, please leave a like. It really helps this video. It helps us get out, and this is a small channel, and I really hope to grow with all of you, and that would be such a pleasure. So thank you for being with us, Sophie.
Thank you for being with us, and we shall hear you very soon in the future.